Ding, 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 everybody. We are back. This is Ringside's Corner Confessions. And once again, we are climbing back into the infamous ring, ready to do the thing. And for those who haven't figured it out, I am Trey Amazing, your favorite part-time stripper, part-time pastor, but full-time dating commentator. This morning, I am joined by Dr. Aaron Turpeau. He is a marriage and relationship counselor, helping couples go from unhappy relationships to passionate and fulfilling lifelong relationships. He is Black America's love doctor and also my Morehouse brother. Brother Turpeau, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing excellent.
Good,
thank you,
good.
sir.
Very good. Well, thank you for joining me again. This is a part 2 to the interview last year. I know you were gracious enough to let me interview you, and I was able to talk to you about gender roles, traditional or modern. And you definitely provided some great information because, you know, in relationships and dating, you know, it's like a lot of things. I always equate it to politics. You have, in terms of the best way to run the government, a Republican is going to give you a different answer than a Democrat, right?
Right.
So I always equate it to, the same thing. The best way to run a marriage. Someone who is traditional is going to give you a different answer than someone who is more modern, right? And so, when we're talking about dating and relationships and even marriage, one subject matter that's always very polarizing, and that is money. Money, right? Money can definitely divide, a room because, again, it can be a very divisive topic. And so, one of the things that I wanted to, the biggest reasons I wanted to interview you was one topic that's been very polarizing to me. I'm not sure if you've heard of the whole Gabrielle Union Dwayne Wade thing, right? And so recently, well, I'm not going to say recently, it hasn't been that long ago, but they came in the public eye when it was a subject matter talking about 50-50, right? The whole 50-50 topic. And so Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade, they were in the news because apparently, I forgot exactly when it happened, but apparently it has something to do with Gabrielle Union establishing that she and Dwayne Wade, they go 50-50 in their relationship as of lately. Because there was a case where they both were in one of Dwayne Wade's homes. And I guess they were having a conversation, and the conversation got heated. And Dwayne Wade reminded Gabrielle Union that they were in his home, right? Which I guess infuriated Gabrielle because she was like, don't ever say we're in your home. Well, I guess he said that to imply we're in my house. So if it's my house, it's my rules. Right. Which, of course, that would piss off anybody. Right. So moving forward, Gabrielle, I guess she wanted to establish, no, we're going to go 50-50. We're never going to be in a relationship where I'm financially dependent on you or the other way around because you're never going to have that kind of control. And she wanted to just basically just establish, like, look, if we're going to be in this marriage, there are going to be instances where I'm going to have financial stake in the things we do in the home and a lot of our decisions because you're never going to be in a position where you can control me financially, which to me was understandable. But she used the term 50-50, which a lot of people, they're not really feeling, right? And so before we get into the heat of this, in your estimation, you see a lot of couples all the time. How often is money the root cause of marital discord?
I don't see money as the root cause in my practice. The root cause of a lot of problems for couples is more so communication, different priorities and values, and it shows up in different areas and topics. And one of the areas that it shows up in is when we're discussing finances. But the root cause is usually around they're not communicating well, and also a root cause of this situation is priorities and values and different ideas about money and where money is in your list of priorities and what's really important to you. So to me, that's more the root cause is the values. If we're talking about money in particular, it's more about where money is, how important is money to you. Is it more important than your relationship? Is it more important to you than your family? So that's more of the root cause is what I see is going on.
Okay. Okay. And so, you mentioned communications. And so, of course, I believe that as well. I've often said communication, sometimes lack of communications, and everyone communicates differently. Some people are good communicators, some people are poor.
Most of us are poor.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, as it pertains to money and, even dating, I've often heard, to me, I've heard people say, a common argument could be, who pays for the first date?
Right.
And some people may think, well, that should be an easy answer, the guy. But we live in different times.
Right.
And again, different times, people are going to bring their own value system, their own beliefs. And sometimes it's not always as straightforward because for a lot of people, it's kind of obvious. Obviously, the guy pays for the first date. But you're going to have those that feel like, well, what if it's just a case of whoever asks?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But we are talking about money. And so again, it can be, it's like politics. You're going to have some people who are traditionalists.
Yeah.
And if you're traditionalist, of course, you may feel like, well, obviously the man is going to always pay. But if you're, a modern thinker, you may feel like, well, maybe it's just based on whoever asks. What is your thought process? I mean, because you're around couples all the time.
Right.
When you hear about who pays for the first date, what is your thought?
Yeah. It's actually a combination, a hybrid of what you're saying. The way I see it, traditionally, men pay. I recommend that men offer to pay too. Psychologically, evolutionary psychological theory suggests that women are attracted to power, and they're looking for somebody who can provide and protect. This is on a subconscious level too, not even on a conscious level, that they're looking for someone who can provide and protect them and their offspring. And what symbolizes that, what communicates that, is that I'm willing to at least pay for our first date at the coffee shop. I can at least pay that much. I can at least provide. That tends to be attractive to women. And we're talking in generalities here. But my rule of thumb is that I usually tell people whoever asks on the date, that's the person that should pay. So I also say that women shouldn't be asking people out on a date. And there's reasons for that when I coach women on dating process about how they really need to let the man pursue them. I always say sperm should chase egg should not chase sperm.
I've often, I say, because I talk about relationships all the time in the Notorious Ringside group. Make sure everybody, really quickly, let me plug the group. If you're out there, you're watching, make sure if you're on Facebook, find the Ringside group. We go in that on a regular basis. If you're on Facebook, just go to that search bar, type in Ringside LLC, and the private group will come up. Just request to join, and either myself or one of the admins will admit you. But we talk about that all the time. I often tell people, even though I'm in a relationship now, I often tell people I believe in pursuing, I just don't believe in chasing. And people are like, well, what's the difference? And I'm like, okay, no, I will definitely pursue a woman, but I will never chase. And when people, I feel like the distinction is Steve Urkel chased. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it's chasing when you are actively expressing interest in someone who's not reciprocating. They're not reciprocating the same interests or anything. Pursuing for me is like I will put it out there and like, look, I'm interested, but it's also, there is a level in the woman that is showing that I have the green light to do so. There is some interest reciprocated. So I've always felt like that's the difference. Chasing to me is like, no, that's undignified. I can't see myself, chasing after someone, because again, I always say chasing is what Steve Urkel did.
Right, that's a good one.
You know what I mean? But if there's, this a young lady that is somewhat letting me know, hey, there is opportunity, she's somewhat interested as well, then I will definitely pursue. And at that point, like I said, in terms of first date, traditionally I've always paid. There have been a few instances where, women paid on the first date, and I'm like, hey, I'm not going to stop you. But traditionally, on a first date, I always come financially prepared to cover the date, cover the valet, cover everything.
Right.
But again, 2023, things are different. You know, you are going to have some women out there that are going to come prepared. You know, they will, hey, if the guy pays for the dinner, they may pay for the tip. Or, you know, if it is a date that involves a movie, some women are prepared to pay for the movie.
Yeah.
And so I know for our first interview, we did talk about traditional gender roles. But again, money always tends to rear its ugly head or funny head. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so in talking about traditional and gender, and, you know, you brought up communications, why, you know, just why do you think money is such a polarizing topic?
In our culture, in our society, on our planet, really, we live on a financial planet. Money is associated with power. And it's a dynamic that if you don't have your mindset right, as I was talking about as far as priorities are concerned, it can really get in the way of your relationship. So I recommend having money more important in your mind than family or love relationship. That's the root of what causes these issues. It's like we put the cart before the horse. Money should be in service to us and our loved ones and family members, not the other way around. When we value money more than our loved ones is when we start seeing these problems. We don't want the cart before the horse. And so that's why I recommend that people really examine their priorities. What's most important to you? Is it your money that's more important to you? Is it your career that's more important to you? Or is it your loved ones? In our household, our loved ones. My wife is more important to me than money. My wife is more important to me than career. So it's not my money. It's not my house. It's our money. It's our house. Even if I'm the one bringing in 100% of the income, it's our money. It's our house. On a football team, who gets the most glory? Offense. The offensive stars, right? But you couldn't win without defense.
That's right.
So the same thing. The people who make the money, the most money, the stars on your team, they are the ones that get the credit. You couldn't do it without defense, though. Just because I'm the one bringing in the money doesn't mean that this is my house. This is my money because I brought in this money. And if you're a team sport player, maybe say like a Dwayne Wade, you would understand that when you win that championship, you needed somebody who was good at rebounding.
Absolutely.
Even though they didn't score the points or do the slam dunks or the three-pointers. You couldn't have won without the rebounder on your team. So just because you get the glory because you scored the most points doesn't mean that you could have done it without people who are not. So what I'm trying to communicate to people is don't let money be your rubric, your metric, as far as who controls the relationship. See, the golden rule is actually do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But unfortunately, in our culture, we think the golden rule is he who makes the gold rules. That's not the golden rule. So in my marriage, I'm the one that makes the most money, the lion's share of the money. But it's our money. When my wife and I, when we were dating, I have I have like 4 degrees, educational degrees. And I got through all of my education with no student loan debt.
All right.
Okay? When I married my wife, I got student loan debt. Now notice my language. I said when I married my wife, what? I got student loan debt. I didn't say, well, that's her debt. That ain't nothing to do with me. I got my bills paid. Where's your half? This mindset is not a merging mindset. It's not a we mindset. It's like a housemate mindset. That's my house, that's your house. You know, this is my bills, these are your bills. That's a housemate type psychology. That is not a psychology that comes together as marriage. You know, when you have debt, it's our debt. This is the type of mindset. If you have this more of our mindset, you don't get into these arguments about this is my house and that type of thing. So we have to really think about our mindset. Do we have a marriage mindset? Or are we having a housemate mindset? I don't know if that answers your question, but this is what I'm trying to answer to you.
No, it's definitely, it relates a lot. And the reason why, because, and I'm pretty sure we talked about this in our first interview, But when you are in the context, when we're talking about relationships and we're talking about marriage, one of the things that obviously, is going to come up is, people's beliefs on within a marriage, is it going to be a one income household or a two income household? And everybody's going to come with their own set of beliefs. And I'll give you an example. For me, growing up, I always saw, well, in my family, it was a two income household. My dad worked, my mom worked.
Yeah.
In my home, now my father, he made more money than my mother.
Yeah.
So obviously, for him, it was like, okay, he paid the lion's share of the bills.
Yeah.
But my mom definitely contributed.
Yeah.
And even now, both my parents are retired. They've been married 56 years. And, when you look at it, my mom would tell anybody, and I do mean anybody, she's always been the type where she always felt like, oh no, she was definitely going to contribute to the household financially.
Yeah.
Mostly for the same reason, Gabrielle Union talked about. And my mom always talked about, no, she always wanted to financially contribute. Why? Well, my mom always said she never wanted to be in a position where
Right.
anybody could tell her what to do,
Right.
what she could and couldn't do.
Right. And that's that whole golden rule that he who has the gold rules.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because even now, if my mom were here, she would tell you, she never wanted to be in a position where a man could tell her what she could and couldn't do. Regardless if it's a car she wanted, a purse she wanted, clothes, whatever.
Yeah.
She's always been the type where she wanted something, she wanted to just, go out and get it. She never wanted to be the type of wife where if she wanted something, she had to ask for permission.
Right.
Now, for a lot of women, they just automatically feel, well, it's the man. They just feel off top, off the rip. If they want something, it's the man that pays. If it's the house they want, it's the man that pays. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and I do, for me, at my age, I get it. That is more of a traditional mindset. And it happens. Because I've always been the kind of person that felt like there is no right or wrong. But I do recognize that people are going to have their own take to it.
Yeah.
And so, and that's the reason why money can often be a very polarizing topic.
Yeah.
But again, it's about people's own personal values and beliefs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's always going to be a subject matter. Even in my own personal relationship, even, my girlfriend, she has a similar thought process as I do.
Yeah.
Right? But, as a counselor and as someone, you see this all the time. That's the reason why I wanted to bring it up to you.
Yeah.
And that's why it does relate to the whole Gabrielle Union and Dwayne Wade thing.
Yeah. I don't subscribe to the 50-50. I think it should be more 100 and 100. Everybody's giving their all.
Exactly.
Everybody's giving their all to the relationship. My wife and I, the history of our relationship. Sometimes I wasn't working and she was holding it down. It depends on what you're doing in life. I was a full-time student, she was holding it down. Other times when she wasn't working, or other times, she's not working, or sometimes we're both working, we're a dual income family, it can change. And so this is why I think we talked about some of it last time about we have to be willing to adapt. Don't get stuck into just because it's a gender role, just because the man is this and the woman does that. Adapt. Do what works best for you. And adaptability is the key to success. And so we need to just be open to that and not just I'm the man, so I'm the one that should be doing this. You're the woman, you should be doing that. Don't get stuck in that. You can't survive successfully in life if we get stuck into these stereotyping these gender roles. So just be all in. If it takes money to survive, and whoever can get that money, let's get that money. That's the way it needs to be. So currently, even though we've gone through a history of all different things that, in our relationship, currently I'm the one again that's making the lion's share of the money. My wife is not doing as much. So that works for us. And it can work for you too. It's just what works for you. If it's both of you, if it's one of you, if it's the woman making the lion's share of the money, that's fine too. Just make sure that we're in agreement. We are treating each other fairly, and we're not getting into this mindset that he who makes the gold rules. So even because I'm making the most money doesn't mean I rule. It's a combination. It's always a team effort. It's always a collaboration. It's always coming to agreement on how we're going to handle things, getting in agreement about our budget, getting in agreement to our financial strategy. You know, meeting every once in a while about, okay, what are our priorities going to be? Are we going to pay off debt? Are we going to invest? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? And it's not just because I make it, I have the final say. I think we talked about last time, it's much better to go with people's strengths. You mentioned that, you know, if your wife is an accountant, then I would be deferring to her about how we're going to manage this money.
Right.
Right? I remember you mentioning that's true. But some people say, well, no, I have a dick and balls, so I should do that. And you can't even, you got a low credit score, you can't manage your money, and just because you're the man, you think that you should do that. No, go with people's strengths. That's a much smarter way to go about your financial situation. And don't make comments like, this is my house. Once you merge together, it's our stuff. It's our house. Our assets are ours. Our debt is ours. I mean, that's what I recommend, that you have that type of attitude. Otherwise, you're not all in. If you want to be in marriage, you got to be all in.
Right. Yeah. And because, you know, for me, and that's the reason I brought it up, you know what I mean? Because, again, and that's the reason why Gabrielle Union, she brought it up. She was like, in the interview, she said she never wanted to be in a position where a man can say, this is my house.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Marriage requires trust. The wealth of a relationship is not in people's money, it's in their trust. Okay? For a woman to trust a man that he is going to take care of me no matter what, he's not going to say a statement like, this is my house. Once he says a statement like that, it'll make a woman go,
Right. Right.
Wait a minute. I'm trusting you too much now. Because I can't depend on you. I can't trust you because you're going to pull out that card, this is my house, then hold up, wait a minute. Let me back up and not merge with you so much. Because marriage is ideally trying to be like this, but you say something like that, this is my house, then it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Let's back up here. Maybe we don't need to be like this. So, but if you want to be like this, it requires a great amount of trust. And so that's, you know, my wife trusts me a great deal. And I trust her a great deal. And that's the measurement of a wealth of a relationship, not money. And so, again, her bills are my bills. You know, my bills are her bills. The money that I make is our money. Changing the mindset, it's our house. Changing the mindset from us, from me to we.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I do agree. I agree with that straight up, 100%. But I do recognize that in the world we live in, everybody's going to have, you know, their own thinking, their own, you know, thought process. And again, it can be, where did you grow up? Did you grow up in the North? Did you grow up in the South? Did you grow up in the West? Did you grow up in the East? Did you grow up in the U.S.? Did you grow up, you know, overseas? Everybody's going to have their own unique, particular set of rules, their own beliefs. And again, depending on where you grew up, you might have said, you bring that in a relationship, you bring that, and ultimately things can clash, things can complement overall, and just like you said earlier, it's about communication. You know what I mean? And again, all that is going to play out. And that's the reason why communication is important. And so, and that's the reason why I wanted to talk to you. You see this on a regular basis in your practice. You know what I mean? I just, you know, for me, I use the Gabrielle Union Dwayne Wade as a clear-cut example because, again, it's going to come up. Definitely going to come up. And it's going to take maturity, you know, to determine exactly how it's going to play out. Because it definitely will play out. And we've all seen it. I've definitely seen it, and again, you're gonna see it, right? And so, as a relationship and marriage counselor, that's exactly why I wanted your take on it, because again, it's gonna come up,
Yeah.
good or bad.
Yeah.
It's gonna come up.
And it depends on, during the mate selection process. That's why I wrote my book, The Harmonious Way. It's about finding a compatible mate. And so these are conversations that need to be had before you get married to someone. Finding someone who's of like mindset and values. If you heard me say right out at the front, it depends on your agreement about how we're going to do our finance. Your agreement between the two of you. That's the most effective. And in order to come to that agreement, you have to have effective communication. What are your values about how do you see money? How do you see money playing in our relationship? These are conversations that need to be had before a big step like marriage. And that will help you decide, is this a compatible person for me? And so I highly recommend that people do that, as they definitely when they get engaged, to be start having those conversations, if not before. Know what you're getting into so you're not surprised after you get married. So highly recommend that you consider all these things. Again, don't go for the right or wrong, the way it should be or ought to be. Just go what works best for you.
Exactly. I mean, again, you hit it. The Harmonious Way. Talk a little bit more about your book, The Harmonious Way. What it's about and what inspired you to write it.
Sure. I was married earlier, and the first marriage didn't work out. And I was like trying to figure out why didn't it work out. And so I went on this this journey trying to really learn about relationships, and I found out that compatibility is a really big factor. Not do I love somebody, will love will conquer all and these types of things. It's more about compatibility. If you want a successful long-term relationship, you need two things. You need to love the right person, and you need to love the right way. And so the Harmonious Way is about finding the right person. In my marriage counseling, I talk about how to love the right way. But the book is the Harmonious Way, meaning how to find the right person. And so it's based on compatibility. Too often we neglect that. We depend on things like emotional wins, or I love somebody, and just all our emotions and other things, attraction and chemistry, when we pick somebody. And these aren't things that you can build a long-term. These aren't solid foundations to build a long-term relationship on. So that's why I spend a lot of time talking about compatibility. You can find the book on my website, blacklovedoctor.com, and it's an Essence magazine bestseller, and I highly recommend it. If you're in the mate selection process, you're dating, you're engaged, I highly recommend that you get that book.
Absolutely, and again, absolutely, capital A, absolutely, and. Because again, that's the reason why I bring it up. Is gonna come up. Regardless if you believe in traditional values, modern, exactly.
Yeah, if I'm a traditionalist, I need to find somebody who's compatible with my traditional viewpoint. If I'm a traditional male, then if you find somebody who's a traditional female, you're not going to have much conflict. But if you're traditional and this other person's over here, now we got some issues. The only thing that's going to bridge that gap is communication, cooperation, collaboration. That's how we bridge the gap. But if you want to set it for success, then find somebody who's more in the arena of the mindset that you are in a lot of different issues. The topic for today, we're talking about finances. Find somebody who's in your same, at least arena, same area as far as attitudes and mindset around finances.
Right. Exactly. And I agree. Only because, again, if you are someone and you have traditional thinking and you're on a date with someone who has modern thinking, it's going to come up.
Yeah.
Definitely going to come up. And it's going to provide interesting conversation because, again, if you're someone who you are a traditionalist and they are modern, trust me, it's going to come up. It's going to come up even right down in the date. Who's going to pay? How much they're going to pay. Not sure if you had an opportunity, if you know about Ebony K. Williams.
Nope.
Okay. Done deal. Ebony K. Williams, she was on the Breakfast Club recently. She's an attorney, political figure, and a legal figure.
Okay.
But, and I'll break it down. Ebony K. Williams, she was on the Breakfast Club, and she was asked that would you date a bus driver? And she said, does he own the bus? Right?
Right.
And it came up because the reason why it came up because Ebony K. Williams, she was asked, would you date a bus driver? And she said, only if he owns the bus.
Right.
Again, it's all about perspective.
Right.
But it came up because she said only if he owns the bus, because she don't do the whole 50-50 thing.
Okay.
Right? And for Ebony K. Williams, she definitely said for her it's about if she owns
If he
the
owns
bus.
it, yeah.
If he owns the bus. Because she said she don't do the whole 50-50 thing.
Yeah.
You know, in her viewpoint, she feels like that the man pays, just like a lot of people, the man pays.
Yeah.
The man straight up pays. And she put it out there, you know, and she's single. She said that, when she's married, the man pays.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And of course, she got a lot of flack for that. She got a lot of support. She got a lot of detractors. A lot of people disagree with her. A lot of people straight up agree with her. What are your thoughts?
I think she should get what she wants. If she wants somebody who owns a bus, then get somebody who owns a bus.
Right.
Everybody else is butt out. Get what you want out of life. Create your world. Find a spouse that meets your standards, because you're the one that has to wake up to that person every day. You're the one that has to live with that person every day. So other people's opinion on what she wants is irrelevant.
Boom.
So Ebony K. Williams, get what you want. If you want somebody who owns a bus, get somebody who owns the bus. And you don't want to date a bus driver, don't date a bus driver. Everybody's got preferences. People got physical preferences, financial preferences. It's nobody else's business. Whether you like it or not isn't anybody else's business. Get what you want. You know, if somebody says, well, I want a woman that looks a certain way or weighs a certain way, has got a body that looks a certain way, then get what you want. It's nobody else's business about whether you should or shouldn't do that. People who are saying that she shouldn't do that need to get a life and get what they want.
Bada bing. And you're right. And you're right, because again, she got a lot of flack. She got a lot of support. But again, if you're in a relationship, if you're dating, it's certainly going to come up. Every relationship I've been in, it comes up. You know.
Men, if they're upset that a woman wants somebody with money, don't be upset. I mean, let her get somebody with money. And if you, same thing, you want women, if men out here want women that look a certain way, women don't need to be upset about that. The man's the one that got the merit to be with her. You know, I mean, we're fortunate to find somebody that we love. You know, be they black, be they white. You know, some people have problems with interracial dating. Look, we're fortunate to find somebody somebody that we love. So stay in your lane. Don't worry about what other people do. And if people can find love, if it's somebody who's rich, poor, physically attractive, not physically attractive, that's their business. But everybody's got their own specifications. You know, I had one woman, she said, Dr. T, I got a question. Is it shallow of me that I want a man who's at least 6 feet? And I said, yeah, that is shallow of you. But that's okay. It's okay. You know, the men say, oh, I want a woman, who looks a certain way. And she said to me, I'm a short dude. And she said that to my face. So I wasn't offended by that. I wasn't like, oh, that's not right. She shouldn't want that. That's not fair. What the fuck does that got to do with me? Get what you want, lady. And men need to be out here and get what they want. You want a man who makes money, get a man that makes money. You want a woman that looks a certain way, get a woman that looks a certain way. That's your business. Create your world. Don't be mad at other people because they have certain preferences. I don't know how I got on there, but
No, it's good. And again, you're right, bada bing. Because, and again, I agree. is going to come up. If you are in a relationship, if you're dating, trust me, money's going to come up. Definitely going to happen. And I agree.
If you're mad because women want men with money, then don't be mad. Go out here and get you some money.
Definitely true.
So, you know,
it's definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to come up, regardless if it comes up before, you know, the appetizer, before whatever. Trust me, in every single date I've been on,
yeah,
it's going to come up.
Yeah.
And that's definitely the reason why I wanted to ask, because if you're, regardless if you are in a traditional thinking or modern, it most certainly is going to come up. It's come up in every relationship I've been in. Definitely going to come up in every date you're going to come on.
Yeah.
And that's certainly why I wanted to ask you, in your profession, you most certainly are going to hear it.
Okay.
You most certainly going to see it play out. And like you said, I've been married. I'm divorced. But I certainly ain't never been in a relationship. I've never been on a date where money didn't come up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so someone in your profession, you see it all the time, and you see it come up, and certainly you've seen your stories.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody out there, if you are checking this out, if you are on social media, please check out the Ringside Group. Go ahead and find us on social media. Go ahead and find us on social media. Go ahead and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You know where we are. Make sure you drop a line. Please, if you're out there, make sure you follow us. If you're on TikTok, Instagram, make sure you follow us. And definitely check us out. Go ahead, make sure you hit me with some followers, hit me with some comments, and make sure you subscribe. Dr. Turpeau, if they're out there, where can they follow you?
You can follow me at drturpeau.com as well as blacklovedoctor.com. So if you type these things in your search engine, I should pop up. And I'll be glad to, you can see my YouTube channel called the Turpeau channel, where you'll see other videos related to the types of things we're talking about today. So please follow.
Dr. Turpeau, thank you so much. Awesome.
Thank you.
Again, if you out there, do your Googles. Dr. Turpeau is somebody you need to know. Hey, that rhymes.
Yeah, that does.
But definitely somebody you need to know if you're talking about dating, if you're talking about relationships, if you're talking about money, you need to know this brother, because again, it's going to come up. It's going to come up in a major way. And again, he is a brother you need to know about. So want to make sure you check him out.
Yeah, let me just say one last thing about money. Make sure you keep money in perspective. People are more important than money. Money is not more important than people. And so if you keep that, it's hard to keep that in the forefront of your head in our culture because we're such a financial culture. But once you keep in mind that the people and your loved ones are more important than money, then you'll be able to navigate through these things much better.
Bada bing, Dr. Turpeau, how can they get in contact with you?
You can reach me, again, going to the website, blacklovedoctor.com. You'll see my contact information, my email. I have my phone number there too if you want to reach out to me. I do coaching here in the state of Georgia. Also, in the next month or so, I have an online marriage course coming out for people around the country, around the world. So be on the lookout for that. You can reach that at rescueourmarriage.com. It's an online course. If your marriage is in trouble, my wife and I, we show you how you can rescue your marriage and get it back on track and save it. Stay away from the divorce world.
Definitely. Sorry, definitely. Wanted to more so put it out there because, again, it's definitely going to come up. again, is going to come up. If you are out there in social media, it's more so going to come up. You know, if you are somebody, regardless if you are someone who is a traditional thinker, if you are modern, is going to come up again, because again, and that's the reason why I brought up the whole Gabrielle Union, because everybody's going to have their own unique values, regardless if you are somebody who is a modern thinker. You know, if you're someone who is a traditional thinker, bada bing, it's going to come up. Dr. Turpeau, thank you so much.
Thank you.
How can they find you if they want to find you?
Yeah. Go to, again, blacklovedoctor.com to reach me personally if you want some coaching services. If you want to actually get an online course for your marriage, for your relationship, go to rescueourmarriage.com.
Bada bing. Dr. Turpeau, thank you so much. We are, again, ringside. If you are out there, make sure you find us on, do your Googles.
Yeah.
Best you do your Googles. And again, if you're out there, make sure you find this brother, because again, he is somebody you need to know. Dr. Turpeau, thank you so much. And we are out of here again.
Excellent.